I've been continuing the development today, slowly but surely, of the different tiers and layers of the self-led artist. At this stage, knowing how huge the overall concept is long term, my main intention is to refine the language, the direction, so I'm really clear on exactly what it is I'm offering. Because if artists and creative thinkers and those who I help, so many of you guys out there, don't fully understand the problem that I'm solving, then this won't be cyclical and it won't work long term, right? So I'm working right now on my career positioning, what that looks like, what my niche is in terms of my client base, all of this stuff that's like right at the foundational level of building something long-term business-wise, right? Who I'm helping in terms of my niche client, what my category is, and I think I'm creating a new one, so that has been interesting to define, because I'm entering a field that does not yet fully exist because it's integrating so many different areas together. So I'm creating something new. And also right now what my 4-tier business model is. So those are kind of the things I'm looking at. I've managed to fully refine the self-led system, what the whole system is, which is the Kratz framework at the top, supported by your daily anchors and the returning practice. All 3 of them interact with one another. It's a closed loop system. It's been created. All I need to do now is refine it day by day, have iterative research through creative life archive conversations, which I'm going to have, and visual diagrams. Now, this is where my education background comes in. I've built the system. I can see the system. I understand the system. I'm still understanding it through teaching it, obviously, but the visual diagrams are going to really play a big part in my clients understanding this process and how it can help them, right? So what I found really interesting is my 4-tier business model and what that looks like. So I've got 4 layers to it right now. I've got my public intellectual layer, things like my essays, talking about all the different areas. I've got plenty of stuff written down here. Might even give you an example. Probably right at the bottom. Where have I put it? Yeah, so I'm going to start doing essays on Substack every week, but actually zone in more on the problems that I'm solving. So talking about why most creative routines fail, why inconsistency is often structural, not motivational, what artists actually need in order to sustain their practice and consistency, why nervous system state affects creative continuity, and just like the architecture of a self-led creative life, and the difference between like adaptive structure and rigid productivity, all of this stuff. These are the kind of essays that will build my intellectual authority over time, which is one of the aims. So yeah, back to the tiers. So tier 1 is my public intellectual layer. Essays. I'm going to do more keynote style talks like the webinar that I uploaded. So I've got something in my ear at the moment. So yeah, keynote style talks where I'm talking through my methodology, breaking it down, and also explaining who I'm helping, and also just like kind of being me and emanating that energy for those who will feel, resonant with my energy. That's another thing, another part of the public intellectual layer, and all of this stuff is what I'm building this year. Podcast, long form conversations, having lots of that, visual framework breakdowns, very important. Thought pieces, interviews with artists, and my creative life archive content. So this is going to establish some leadership and kind of category defining over time. And this isn't something that's overnight. I'm talking over a couple of years. This will compound and build. My aim is to shape the language in this new field that's emerging and attract the right audience and make my thinking referenceable at this stage. So this is like publishing, essentially. It's not just content creation. So I'm trying to be an author of a body of thought with this layer. So that's tier 1. Now, tier 2 is something that I'm probably going to start working on from September onwards, but we'll see. It could happen sooner. This is my main business engine, effectively. And it's not like loose coaching or support without a structure. It's a clearly staged method. So it's going to be built around the CRADS framework and diagnosis, the daily anchors, implementing the returning practice, sustainability, stabilizing that practice. And a flagship methodology is in a form of like a 10 to 12 week cohort or premium program. Not a course. I think this is it could be a cohort or a premium program. It could be either, and I need to refine which way I go. But anyway, there'll be 10 to 12 weeks. There'll be different modules like diagnosing your weak pillars, rebuilding your identity and values, mapping your state and regulation, artistry and your alive creative process as an artist, direction and decision design, sustainability and practice design, your daily anchors, returning practice, integration, and your long-term horizon. So that's transformative. That's so transformative. If artists and creative thinkers implement this practice over the course of 10 to 12 weeks, they will change. Their lives will change. That's just facts, which is exciting. Now, the third tier, which is something I could potentially start doing at around the same time, but again, I'm in no rush right now. I want to refine the language first and continue this building of the intellectual public layer first. But yeah, my products, so things like my diagnostic tool, workbooks, maybe a mini course on daily anchors or a mini course on the returning practice, Notion tables. I'm doing this. I'm running this system myself, by the way. Like, I'm trialing this on myself for at least a year to see how it changes my life before I'm fully, offering it in full to other people. I could do like a membership and, those kind of like scalable product ecosystem. Eventually, long term, this will be larger courses and a book. That's kind of like a standalone, substantial, intellectual delivery, right? And then you've got tier 4, which is higher level advisory work or intensive work. So this is for serious artists, could be for cultural organisations, for music and art education spaces, different residencies, creative founders, institutions. And this would be more like private intensives and like methodology, consulting, different workshops, training sessions, that kind of thing. That end goal, and we could be talking 5-10 years down the line with some of this part, but I would really feel rewarded and aligned and connected working with different institutions and communities and ecosystem, like art ecosystems, because this is structural work. It works on scale. It works with scale, as well as one-on-one. And then, there's a lot going on at this point, guys. And if you're still with me, I appreciate you. I have my stack of intellectual property that I'm building here. So it currently includes the self-led artist, the category that I sit within, which is adaptive return systems that I'm building. Lots of people build different systems, but the systems that I build for artists and creatives in particular are adaptive return systems, because they adapt to the person's state, even though it's a structure and a system, and they allow returning to a practice, to a body. It's like human-centered systems. And this is the beauty of what I'm building, is this beautiful balance between structure and creativity and allowing expansion and movement. I'm making structure artistic, which is the most pure expression of who I am. I feel like I'm 50% structure, 50% chaos. And how I've integrated the two is why the self-led artist exists. So yeah, I've got things like the CRADS framework, which is mine, the returning practice, which is mine, daily anchors, the creative life archive, which is building, any other self-led artist language. And I'm using the word closed loop model a lot. I don't know if that's mine effectively, but the self-led system, which currently is the CRADS framework, returning practice and daily anchors, is a closed loop system model. Yeah. So yeah, those are in different layers. And then I've been looking at refining CRADS a little bit more. But I think CRADS is the core public model, I think, because it really does refine everything within the internal structure and world of an artist. But over time, I will add sub-layers or support structures underneath. That gives a bit of intellectual depth and a bit more elegance to the CRADS framework. However, at this stage, it's not needed. But I'll give you an example. Creative identity as a pillar is actually underneath. If you look a little more closely, that pillar is supported by values, meaning, self-permission, self-trust, artistic honesty. It's all within creative identity. And regulation, if you look a little bit closer under that pillar, you've got nervous system care, emotional processing, things like your sleep, your nutrition, recovery, resilience, that all lives within regulation. And you've got artistry, which is supported by where you're putting your attention, experimentation, skill, and your relationship to output, and so on and so forth. What I'll probably do is just a purely CRADS-based webinar or keynote video, which explains CRADS in a bit more detail, and I will include these sub-layers for you to understand. Just makes it a bit more sophisticated. And then, yeah, I'm just writing up different ways that I can start to... I mean, the aim at this stage, as much as this is long-term a business and it is methodology, long-term legacy work for me and something that is mine and something that supports so many over time, my highest priority right now is not trying to quickly scale something and just put out mentoring for the sake of it, because it's not built on a foundation. I want it to really slowly build and allow my intuition and my artistic flow to be part of this as well. This building that I'm doing is an art. So I think I said in my previous video, all of this feels like an art project for me, which is in the name. But even when I was saying social media, there's an art to it, and I'm really intrigued by the art of refinement, communication, and building in a business format. Like the full loop is something I'm really interested in. And this is creation at the end of the day. The same way as a producer, I have an idea and I create something out of nothing, or I suddenly pick up my guitar and I sing and something comes out. The self-led artist started as an idea from nothing, and the potential is explosive. And that's, I think, what's the most exciting part about it. So yeah, I think visual frameworks, continuing to build on YouTube, all the different educational parts, Creative Life Archive. I think, I keep saying that wrong, Creative Life Archive. I think at this stage, that's lovely. That's enough. And the one thing to keep remembering, ongoing research will help solidify this depth and my understanding of artists. It's a non-negotiable part of this methodology. What have I called it? Methodology company, if we're going to call it a business. An embodiment. As a founder, I have to be, but I have to return to myself, just like my own. I have to live the system. I have to be the system and return and remain embodied with all of these ideas. And if I'm going to utilise this wonderful brain of mine and my skill set, I have a tendency to remain in here. I need to come back here and here as much as I can. Yeah. So my aim, and I think my highest path with this, is to continue to evolve into a founder of a distinct methodology. And my field is sustainable creative practice. And obviously it's deeper than that, ideally. At deep down, it's an architecture of a creative life. But I'm so intrigued by the infinite well of this. And again, it always comes back to God, there's so much to research. There's so much depth. It's so fucking practically useful. It's transformational for others. I'm finding myself through this. I return to myself through this. It's so fucking aligned. And I created a few businesses in my time. I've done one-on-one private mentoring before, often in lots of different ways. And I've built Bessie's Beat School. And I was doing all of the things that were businessy with that. I was ticking off all the things. I was doing a post every week. But there was something that was disconnected from it. And I think the difference now is that the self-led artist is the truest, most authentic expression of me. And there is no separation from me or the work. And I think when people say that there's no separation between me and the work, I think some people are like, watch out, mate, because you need to be separate from your work. But I think that's the point. My identity and my path is my artistry, the self-led artist as an ecosystem. It's all the truest expression of me. So I'm able to be completely authentic. It's like an engine that drives for me. And nothing is wasted. Those are my updates. Ciao, ciao.